Hello everyone, it's Martha here with you. So we have a super fun project we're going to do today. So I was invited by the beautiful Rosa Kelly to join in on her Freaky Friday Halloween series. So I created this mini album explosion box using her new digital collection called Ghost Party. And it's absolutely adorable. The minute I saw it, I knew I had to work with it. I just absolutely love it. So this album does have a full cutting guide, and starting with this album, there is also going to be detailed photos of every page of all the interactions included in the cutting guide. So that's going to have your cardstock, your pattern paper, your silver cardstock in this case, orange cardstock, absolutely everything will be in the cutting guide for you. So that will be linked below this video, as well as the link to the adorable Ghost Party digital collection, okay? So let's get into it. So it is a 7 3/4 by 7 3/4 inch explosion box album. The lid is 1/8 of an inch larger, so the lid is 7 7/7 by 7 7/8, just to accommodate for having to fit over the base. But technically, it's 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. It has a 2.5 inch depth. So super great little album. You can fit a ton in here. So this is the lid. So on the lid here, I've used one of the cut aparts from the Ghost Party digital collection and the background paper here. And I've used some dies here from La La Land Craft, and I'm going to link those below for you as well. So the lid comes off like this, and I'll just set it aside here so that we can look at this book. So it is a full album, except it doesn't have, your traditional cover. It has the lid, and then it explodes out just like this, okay? So for page 1 here, and before I go on, I did use the waterfall hinge like I usually do, just to accommodate for, all the bulk of the book, so it actually lays really nice and flat. So for page 1 here, I did 2 diagonal pockets here on the front with some photo mats in there. And again, this is one of the cut aparts from the Ghost Party digital collection. Absolutely adorable. So this whole lid, top flap, flips up. And then you have space for 4x6 photos, and then just some matting. And again, this is all going to be detailed in the cutting guide for you. And then here we have a pocket with an insert, and then we have a side pocket here with an insert. All right, and then that closes down, and then we go to page 2. So page 2 has a cute little envelope closure over here, and then it opens up like this, and it opens down like this. Do my best to show it to you guys here. So there is space for 4x6 photo, and then just that adorable Ghost Party paper that I used for matting. And then down here we have a waterfall, except it kind of flips a little bit differently. I'm just trying to make sure I'm in the screen for you guys. So there is space for 4x6 photos on here and 4x4s, or you could switch it up and do all by 4x4s or all 4x6s. That's completely up to you. And then it just closes back up with a magnet. And then for page 3, I've created this cute little bat paper clip closure for this page, and you do have space for a 4x6 photo here, and I have left it open on here so you can slip a photo under here. So I only glued the top section. So then this opens like this, and you have this really cool pop-up feature in here, and then these pages open again like this, so you have space for 4 photos inside of here. And then you have space for 2 more photos on the front here. And of course you can put photos here and here. I just kind of wanted to really display that adorable paper. All right, and then we go to page 4. Has 2 diagonal pockets right here. And I do show you how to mat all of these pockets in the tutorial. And then it has a nice large photo mat with a space for a 4x6 photo, front and back. And then that just goes right back in here. And then this whole lid, or flap, I keep calling it a lid, flips up. And you have space for a 5x7 photo, a 4x6 photo, and then a 3x5 photo. And again, I've just left the little ghost open on this side, and all of these cut aparts do come with the Ghost Party digital collection. All right, and then this just goes right back on to close that whole page up. And then for page 5 here, we have a insert for a 4x6 photo, and then we have 2 little diagonal pockets, so that is the closure for this page. And it opens up like this, so you have space for 2 more 3x5 photos, and then space for a big photo in here. I just love this paper collection, so I really wanted to showcase it. And then this closes back up, and then this whole section opens up, and you have space for 2 5x7 photos in here. All right, and then we get to the last page, so page 6. And as you'll notice, guys, you know, we have a lot of elements in this page. We have a lot of inserts in our pages, and as you can see, because of that waterfall hinge, it's still laying so nice and flat. I absolutely love it. So page 6 has an insert. All right, and then it has a belly band under here. So these are 2 more cut aparts from the collection. And I've just kind of stuck these in here in case I want to use them at some point. So it has a pocket and a belly band, and then the whole flips up on top of the belly band, and then you have space for 2 4x6 photos here. And then again, I just left the pumpkin open, and again, this is from the Ghost Party collection. And then the back here, I just left plain because I really wanted to showcase this gorgeous, gorgeous paper here. So that is the book. So the tutorial is going to follow immediately after the walkthrough. So I do give you all the measurements for the base and the construction, and I do show you how to mat all the more complicated things, but the rest of the info is in the cutting guide for you guys. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed seeing this beautiful Ghost Party collection in action. I absolutely love it. So enjoy, and I will see you guys all very, very soon. Bye. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to make the bottom of our exploding album first. So you're going to need some heavy black cardstock. So I'm using 110 pound for my base, but the pages and interactions are going to be 80 pound, okay? So 110 pound is what I'm using, of 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. Then you're going to need 4 that measure 2.5 by 7 3/4, and on the 2.5 inch side, you're just going to score it 1/2 inch, okay? So you're going to need 4 of those. So let's go ahead first and fold and burnish all of these. All right, now let's add some 3/8 score tape just to the 1/2 inch sections. All right, now let's go ahead and miter our corners. So we're just going to go from the score line out diagonally. Don't cut into the score line. All right, so now that all of our little side pieces are mitered, what we're gonna do is just go ahead and remove a little bit of the backing well, I'll start from this side, of one of your pieces. So just a little tiny bit of the backing. Line it up along the edge of your main 7 3/4 by 7 3/4 piece. Line it up on that edge, just like this. And make sure it's lined up on both sides. And then you can drop it down and press it down here, and then just remove your backing. And then we will continue and do that all the way around. So again, you just remove a little bit of the backing and bend it back. Line it up along that edge, just like this, and make sure it's lined up all the way along it. And then you can press down here, and you can even lift up and make sure you're still lined up, and then remove the rest of that backing. All right, just like this. Okay, and then we will continue around. So with our next piece, again, just remove a little bit of the backing on this side, bring it up, bend it back, line it up over here, right along that previous score line, but not on it. And then line it up over here. And then again, you can lift it up to make sure you're nicely aligned, and then remove the rest of that backing. All right, and then we'll do the last one over here on this side. So remove the backing, line it up. Make sure it doesn't go over either score line on either side. And then press down and you can remove that backing. All right, so that is the bottom. So for the lid, you're going to need one of your pieces of heavy cardstock. So in my case, it's 110 pound, but you could use 80. That measures 7 7/8 by 7 7/8. Then you're going to need 2 that measure 8 7/8, so 8 7/8 by 1 3/4, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch on both sides of the 8 7/8 side, and at 1/2 inch on one of the 1 3/4 inch sides, okay, for both of them. And then then you will also have 2 pieces that measure 7 7/8 by 1 3/4, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch on the 1 3/4 inch side, okay? So they measure 7 7/8 by 1 3/4, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch on the 1 3/4 inch side. All right, so now we're just going to go ahead and add score tape. All right, so now I've got my score tape on. So for these ones here, so the ones with the 3 score lines, I'm just going to cut across my corners. I'm going to do it from the back because we can see better. So basically, we're just going to cut right across, right below where those 2 score lines intersect. So just like this. So you're going to do that for both of them. And the other one as well for both of these type of ones. And then for your little ones that just have the one flap, we're just going to miter these corners just right up from the score line, not into the score line, okay? So where the score line begins and up diagonally for both of them. All right, so now we're ready to glue it all together. So you're gonna grab in back your 7 7/8 by 7 7/8 piece. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna fold back on my score lines, just like this. So what's gonna happen is 2 of our pieces that just have the one score line are gonna go opposite each other here. And then 2 that have the 3 are gonna go opposite each other on this side, okay? So make sure you don't do it like this because that's not gonna work, okay? So again, I'm just gonna remove a little bit of my backing. And I'm gonna start with my short ones. And I'm going to line it up on my black cardstock, my piece underneath. And just make sure it's aligned all the way to the top and all the way to both sides. And again, you can lift it up to make sure. And then just remove that backing. All right, now we'll do the opposite one on the other side. So we've got this one done here. Let's do the opposite one on this side. So remove a bit of your backing. Lay it down. Make sure that it lines up. The lid is probably the most crucial step of this project, so you want to make sure it fits the way it's supposed to fit. All right, so now we'll do our 2 sides that have the side flaps. So I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish these before I put them on. All right. So if you want, you can kind of fold these sides in as you're working with this longer side here and fold it back again, just because it'll help you line it up better. And then you can press down here and remove that backing and just kind of still guide it down a little bit. All right, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, I'm just folding these down to make it easier. And remove. All right, and again, I'm gonna fold in my sides and line it up. All right, and then we can press down over here and just remove the rest of that backing. All right, so now your lid piece should look just like this. So now all we have to do is remove the backing and bring together the corners. Super easy, just make sure your corners align, or the edges, I should say. Just like that. All right, and that's our lid. So let's bring the bottom back in and make sure we all fit good. Perfect. So that is the base of our explosion album. So it's going to open up and then explode out just like this. All right, so for page 1 of our explosion box album, you're going to need a piece of 80-pound or 110-pound cardstock. For the pages and the interactions in the pages, I do prefer 80-pound, but 110 will work if that's what you have. So this piece measures 8 by 7.5. And on the 8-inch side, you're going to score at half and at 1, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is just fold down the 1-inch score line, okay? So just fold it back. And then for right now, we're just going to leave this 1/2-inch section unfolded, okay? And then just lay it flat like this. Then you're going to need another piece, so 80-pound cardstock. Unless I say differently, it's all 80-pound cardstock. All right, that measures 7 by 8, and then on the 8-inch side, you're just going to score at 1/2 inch. Okay, so then you have a 7.5 by 7 section to work on as your flap. Okay, and then just fold and burnish that score line down. All right, then you are going to need another piece that measures 7 by 8, except this time you're going to go ahead and score at 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. On all 4 sides of your piece of 7 by 8 cardstock, okay? Then what you're going to need is your paper trimmer or a craft knife or whatever you prefer. And on the 8-inch side, so the longer side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to align this piece in my trimmer like this, so that we are going to cut from this corner down to this corner on the 8-inch side, okay? So I'm going to align it in the trimmer. All right, and then just cut, okay? So your pieces should look like this. All right, so one of them you're going to take and fold down like this. So fold, or I guess I should say fold up towards the dented side, okay? One of them. Towards the dented side of your score. All right, so this one should look like this, okay? Now the other one, you're going to fold towards the bumpy side of your score, okay? Towards the bumpy side. Like this. So one you fold towards the dented side and one you fold towards the bumpy side. So then your pieces should look just like this. All right, so now what you need to do is grab your scissors, and when you fold the score lines, fold your little 1/2-inch flaps in, you're going to see these points here, okay? So we need to cut these points right off for both top and bottom, okay? And then your piece is going to look like this when you open it up. And then down here, where you have this little square created by our scoring, you're just going to cut right across that, just cut right below where those 2 score lines intersect, okay? So the same thing on this one. Fold it over and trim off these points on both of your score lines. And then cut across right below where those 2 score lines intersect. The lighting is so weird in my craft room today because the sun is in and out. All right, so now your pieces are going to look just like this, okay? So now you're going to get back in your flap that measured 7 by 8 that we scored on the 8-inch side at 1/2 inch. So we're first going to place one of our diagonal pockets first down on this bottom of this flap, okay? So what you want to make sure is that this long edge is going across the bottom here, not the short edge. The long edge is going to be the same width as the bottom of your 7-inch wide flap, okay? So we're going to start, and I'm just going to put glue on this long section down here, this longer flap, okay? And I'm going to line it all the way to this corner and all the way to the bottom of my flap here. So just make sure it's all the way aligned to the corner and all the way to the bottom. You can pick it up and zhuzh it if it needs to be. All right, and then just burnish this. And then you can get your glue and add glue to this section as well. this side section. Okay, bring it up. Make sure it's really nice and flat and aligned. And then we can burnish that as well. So the same thing with your other pocket. Make sure your long edge is going across the bottom. And we're going to glue this one over here on this side, just like this. Okay, so again, I'm just going to start with my bottom longer flap. And I'm going to line it all the way on top here of the other one. Make sure it's straight up here and down here. All right, and then you can burnish that. Just like that. Okay. Now we are going to add glue to this flap here. And bring this one up. Just like so. So now we have our cute little diagonal pockets. Now this whole thing is going to get attached to our main base page, okay? So what we need to do first is just miter the corners on our flap. And then we'll add glue. And so this flap is exactly the size of our main page. So make sure you get it on there well. So you can pick it up and put it where it needs to go. Turn it over and make sure it's not hanging over on the other side at all. And then just burnish that down. And then we can open the flap and burnish that as well. All right, and then inside here, inside of our flap, under our diagonal pockets, there's going to be a side pocket. So for that, you need a piece that measures 4 3/4 by 8 1/2. And on the 8 1/2 side, you're going to score 1/2 inch on both sides. And then on the 4 3/4 side, you're just going to score 1/2 inch on one side. And we are again just going to cut those corners out. So we're just going to cut right below where those two score lines intersect. Just like this. All right, and then we are going to fold and burnish these. Just like this. All right, and then what I'm going to do, I just always like to fold and burnish it like this too, because it just makes it way easier to glue on. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this little section down here. I'm going to add glue. It's one of my little 1/2 inch tabs. And I'm going to line it up right along this score line here, not on it, but right next to it and all the way to the bottom. So line it up all the way to the bottom and just like a hair away from that score line. All right, and then you can open that up and burnish it. All right, and now I'm going to take and put glue on these two tabs, our two remaining tabs. And then just bring those up. Just like this. All right, and then I always like to close over my top flap and make sure everybody's still coexisting happily. All right, and so now on top of here, we're going to have another pocket. So for that, you'll need a piece that measures 5 1/4 by 4 1/2. And on the 5 1/4 side, you're going to score 1/2 inch on both sides. And on the 4 1/2 side, you're just going to score 1/2 inch on one side. And again, we'll go ahead and cut across our corners, and then fold and burnish, just like this. All right. Okay, and then again, I just like to do this because I just find it makes it so much easier. All right, so this pocket is just gonna go right on top of this pocket. So I'm gonna add my glue to this bottom flap here and then place it on all the way to the bottom, and it should be the exact same width as this pocket here, okay? So just burnish that, and then we will add glue to these two sections as well. Oops. And then just bring those up. And you can always adjust as you're coming up if you feel like it needs it a little bit, and burnish that. So that finishes page 1. So we've got our diagonal double pocket here on the flap that comes up, and then we've got a pocket here and a side pocket here. All right, so the back of page 1, so page 2 is going to have like a little bit of a faux envelope type thing with a waterfall in it. So the first thing you need for that is a large flap that measures 6 1/4 by 7, and on the 7-inch side you're just going to score 1/2 inch, and we will just go ahead and miter our little flap here. So remember, just diagonally up from the score line. All right, and then the top of the little faux envelope, you're going to need a piece that measures, and then on the 3 1/2 inch side you're going to score 1/2 inch, okay? And then we can go ahead and miter those corners again of our hinge, and then we can go ahead and fold this down and burnish it. All right, so from the fold line you're going to want to measure down 2 inches on this side and 2 inches on this side, okay? And then you're going to want to find your center mark along the 6 1/4 side, which is 3 1/8. All right, then we're going to cut off these little sections, okay? So you're going to connect them with your metal ruler, those tick marks, so the 2 inch mark here and the 3/8 mark here, 3 1/8, sorry. Just connect those, and then just cut across with your craft knife. And then we will also connect these ones on this side and just cut across with the craft knife. And then that just kind of gives us that cute shape there. And then we'll go ahead and erase any marks that won't be covered with pattern paper before we continue on. All right, so we've got our little top. So I'm going to remove my self-healing mat. All right, so now what we need to do is we can go ahead and attach this piece to this edge here opposite of our hinges. Attach it to this edge all the way to this side and all the way to the top, okay? So we can go ahead and add our glue. So this is on our main base page that we're gluing it onto, the back of page 1. All right, all the way to this edge here. And all the way to the top. So you'll have about 5/8 of an inch or so over here. All right, just like this. All right, and then the other flap that we created, the one that is 6 1/4 by 7, that we scored at 1/2 inch on the 7-inch side, and we've already mitered it. That one is going to get placed down at the bottom here. So it's going to go right here, also right along the front. And then this this is going to come down over top of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and really nicely reinforce that and get our glue on here. Just like this. And then just put it all the way along the front and all the way down to the edge here. Just make sure they line up nicely here. And then you can open that up and burnish it. All right, so the inside of this flap is going to have a waterfall, but it is going to be on this flap here, okay? So we need 5 waterfall pieces that measure 4 3/4 by 6 1/4, and on the 4 3/4 side, you're gonna score it 1/2 inch. So what we're gonna do, and then you can go ahead and fold and burnish all of those, but we do not need to, we don't need to miter these, okay? So what's gonna happen is these are all going to get attached onto the flap, onto the 6 1/4 side, okay? So what I've done here is I've just laid mine open like this, so it's easier for me to work on, okay? So I'm gonna start with my first one. Just like this. So remember, we have 5 pieces that measure 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. And then on the 4 3/4 side, you're just going to score at 1/2 inch. And then we're just going to put them on this flap here, our larger flap, okay? All right, and then we can put the other one, the next one, right below that one. So just get your glue on there. And attach it right below the previous one. All right, so now we've got all 5 flaps attached nicely to this little flap here. So now this is going to come up, and we are going to do a magnetic closure here. So I've got my magnets. These are the 10 by 1 millimeter magnets. And I'm just going to grab a piece of tape. And I'm going to put one up here, kind of closer to the top. And then I will put a piece of tape upside down on my magnet so the sticky side is up. And I'll let my next one just snap to it. And then I'll just close my top down. All right, so that completes page 2. So we have the big flap that opens with the nice waterfall pieces down here. All right, so let's go on to page 3. All right, so for page 3, you're going to need another one of your base pages that measures 8 by 7.5. And then on the 8-inch side, you are going to score at 1/2 and at 1. All right, so we are going to fold back just again that 1-inch score mark so that we have a flat surface to work on. Then you're going to need a flap that measures 7.5 by 7. And then on the 7.5-inch side, you're just going to score at 1/2 inch. And you are going to fold and burnish that score line. And then we are going to miter it. All right, and then get your glue and just add it to your flap, your little 1/2 inch hinge here. All right, and we are going to attach this along the side with our hinges, okay? So we're going to attach it and just center it top and bottom because it is a 1/2 inch smaller than, or shorter, sorry, than the base page. All right, and then you can open that up and burnish it just like this. So we are going to be doing a pop-up in here. So before we do that, we need to attach the pattern papers to this inside section. So for this section here, I chose this cute little ghost paper. So this one measures 6 3/4 by 7 1/4. And then over here, this one measures 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and glue these on. So darn cute. All right, so next you're going to need a piece of your cardstock that measures 7 1/2 by 5 1/4. On the 7 1/2 inch side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, 3 3/4, and at 7. Okay, so the 1/2 inch score marks are going to get folded down like so, and the middle one is going to get folded like a mountain. Okay, so that's what your piece is going to look like. All right, so next you're going to need 2 flaps that measure 5 1/4 by 3 5/8. And on the 3 5/8 side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch for both of them. So you're going to have 2 of the same flaps. Then we can go ahead and fold and burnish our score lines and miter these. So just give them a quick miter, just like so for both of them. My sister does not want to cut today. All right, just like this. These flaps are going to get attached on top right here, right along our 1/2 inch score mark right there. So go ahead and get your glue onto the flap. And attach it right along your score line. And then you can burnish that. All right, and the same thing for the other side. Just add your glue. And attach it right along the score line on this side. Just like so. Right, so then I do want to add a magnet to this before we close it down. So you're going to need 4 magnets. So get yourself some tape, some double-sided tape. So we're going to put this one on this side first, and then get another piece and put it upside down on So sticky side up, let it catch, and then just close it down. All right, and then the same thing for this side. Piece of tape. Put one up here first. And put a piece upside down on it. And let that one catch. And then just burnish that. All right, so now this whole thing is going to get attached inside of here. So what you need to make sure of when you're attaching it is that the score line, this score line here for our main piece, lines up with the where our two pieces are attached together here. So this score line needs to line up with this score line, okay? So what I'm going to do is I am going to add glue just to one flap first, just to one side. Just add glue. And be pretty generous with the glue because this is an interactive element. All right, and then just make sure those two score lines align. All right, and then you can go ahead and press down on it over here. And then open it up and burnish it. All right, so then you can go ahead and add the glue to this flap here. And then just bring that nice and flat down. All right, and then when it opens up, these pop up, and then these also open. So much fun. All right, so the back of our super fun pop-up page is going to have a stacked pocket. So we'll put the base page aside for now and work on the stacked pockets. So the stacked pockets are going to be on top of a flap, and the flap measures 8 by 7, and on the 8-inch side you're just going to score 1/2 inch, and we can go ahead and miter those again, and we can go ahead and fold and burnish our score line. All right, so for the pockets, the first pocket we're going to have is going to measure 8 by 7, and on the 8-inch side you're going to score at 1/2 inch on both sides, and on the 7-inch side you're just going to score 1/2 inch on one side. Okay, so then what I did is from the score line, so let's go burnish these so I can show you. So once they're burnished in, you have a 7-inch section in here. Okay, so from this score line over here, the folded over portion, I measured in 2 inches on this side, and then from the bottom score line, just fold it so you guys can see better. From the bottom score line up, I measured up 2 inches. Okay, so you measure in 2 inches here, and you measure up 2 inches from this fold line. So 2 inches in from this fold line and 2 inches up from this fold line. Then our other pocket measures 8 by 4. So what I've done is on this side, we're going to be cutting this way. So for this pocket, we're going to be cutting the other way. So from the left hand score line here, from the fold line in, I marked 2 inches. And from the bottom fold line up, I marked 2 inches, okay? So now let's go ahead and get our ruler and our craft knife and just cut those out. So just kind of a little bit of something different. And I will, of course, show you guys how to mat these later. All right, so it's just kind of got that cool angled look. All right, and then the same thing for the other one. Just align those 2 marks and cut across. just like this, okay? So this is what both of your little sections will look like. So I guess it's another variation on an angled pocket. So I'm going to erase any marks that are not going to be covered by my pattern paper later. All right, so I'm going to remove my self-healing mat. And I'm going to get back in my flap that we created before. So let's go ahead and cut our corners on both sides of our pockets. Just like so. All right, and then we'll fold and burnish this little guy. Just like this. All right, so we'll attach the large one first, all the way to the bottom of our flap, and all the way to both sides. So I am going to just start with my bottom flap first, add my glue, and just place it all the way to the bottom and all the way to both sides, and then we can go ahead and just fold or burnish, sorry, that, and then we can put it on, put our glue on these two flaps as well. And just bring that up. Like I said, sometimes you will still need to adjust it when you bring it up, and that's completely fine. All right, and just burnish those. And then we will put the smaller one on top. So the smaller one is going to get attached over here on this side, just like this. All right, so again, we're just going to start with our short or our long flap on the bottom, our wide flap, hinge, and just put it all the way to the bottom, right on top of our previous pocket. Just like so. Just make sure it's aligning for you, and then you can burnish it. And then just flip it back and add glue to these flaps, or in this corner, and then just bring that up as well. And burnish it. All right, so now you've got that kind of cool pocket look on there. All right, so now we are going to take and attach this whole thing to the back of our page 3. All right, so add your glue. Make sure it's the right way up, your previous page. So make sure that you're flipping it over just like this, which I wasn't, so it's a good thing I checked. All right, and attach it right along the top. So it's going to cover your whole entire base page. And burnish that. So cute. All right, so I just wanted to say before we move on here, we are going to create a cute little clip to go onto here, a little embellished clip. I was thinking of using one of the little cut aparts, so maybe the bat or something like that, to go onto page 3 just to keep it closed because it's a cute little closure idea. So we'll do that later though. So let's go ahead and work on page 5. So for page 5, you're going to need another base page. So remember that measures 8 by 7.5. And then on the 8-inch side, we score at half and at 1. And again, I'm just going to fold back my 1-inch score mark. So we have a flat surface to work on. Then you're going to need a flap that measures 7 by 8. And on the 8-inch side, you're just going to score at half an inch. And we can go ahead and miter those. All right, and we can fold and burnish our score line. All right, so on top of this flap, there's going to be 2 smaller flaps, and they measure 3 3/4 by 5 1/4 and scored at half inch on the 3 3/4 side. Burnish these. We actually don't need to miter these, so we don't have to. So the first one is going to go all the way to this side, and we're going to center it top and bottom. So just add your glue to your little flap. All right, and then just kind of try to center it top and bottom. It's okay if it's a little bit more towards the top or more towards the bottom. Burnish that, and then you can open it up and burnish it in here as well. And then the other one is going to go on the other side. All right, so I'm going to put my glue here. All right, and then just kind of start here to make sure they're lined up, and then just back up towards the edge. I guess you could use the grid. If you have a grid you're working on, you could use that as well to line it up. And then just burnish that down really, really well. All right, so now for the top of these flaps, there's going to be a diagonal pocket on both sides. So the little diagonal pocket, we're going to create 2. So you've got a piece of your cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then on all 4 sides, you're going to score at half an inch, okay? Then what we're going to do is just cut diagonally through. And it does not matter which side you cut because it's a square. So just line up 2 of your corners and just cut diagonally through. Just like this. All right, then we're just going to fold and burnish on those score lines, just like this. So just fold and burnish them. And we can do them both at the same time, just like this. All right, so they should look just like this. All right, so now we can fold over the score line or the tabs, and you're going to see that that point is there. So we have to cut that point off from both of them. All right, and then this one as well. And then we are also going to cut across our corners. So remember, right below where our score lines intersect. All right, and same thing for the other one. So now we have got our little corners ready to go. So you can give them one more quick little burnish. All right, I'm just going to move my mat. Alright, so now these little pockets are going to go right on top of our flaps, okay? So we're going to start, just do the bottom one first and line it up right on top of the flap. So it's going to go to all the way to the bottom. and all the way to this side over here, okay? So you can open that up and burnish it, and then add your glue, bring it up, and burnish this side, just like this. All right, now we can do the other one on the other side. So again, you can re-burnish it. All right, now we're going to place this one over here on this side. So again, just add your glue just to the bottom first, or if you're feeling confident, you can for sure add it to both sides if you'd like. All right, and then just burnish that down. And then we can add glue to this side and bring that one up as well and burnish it. Just like so. All right, so then I have cut a little mat out of my cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and that's what's going to go in here to keep this whole section closed. All right, so I'm going to just take that out for now, and we're going to put this whole flap on top of our main base page. So right now your flap should be on this side, or sorry, your hinges should be on this side, and this is going to get attached along the top here. So go ahead and add your glue to that, to your top little hinge, and attach it right to the top. And again, it's going to cover your whole main base page. So just burnish that down nicely. Make sure we're not over anywhere, and then you can open it up and burnish it again. And then burnish again. So important for a well working book to have it all nice and burnished. All right, and then that's just going to go in there to keep it closed. So now let's work on the back. So this will be page 6. So now our hinges should be on this side. So what you need for that is one piece that measures 8 1/2 by 4 1/4, and on the 8 1/2 side, you're just going to score it 1/2 inch on both sides. And this is going to create a belly band. So burnish your score lines. There's no need to miter these. All right, and then this whole thing is going to get placed in the center of the back of, or of, just of page 6. So add your glue, just like so. And just put that right in the center. Again, it's completely fine if it's not perfectly centered. All right, and just burnish that. All right, so then there's going to be a flap on the top of our belly band, and that is going to measure 4 1/4 by 8. And on the 8-inch side, you're just going to score it 1/2 inch. Then we can go ahead and fold and burnish this, but we will miter this. All right, and then just add our glue, and it's going to cover the whole belly band. So I just find it easier to work sideways. You can lift it up, make sure it's all aligned, and then just burnish that onto it. And then you can open it up and burnish. All right, so the top of the belly band is going to have a pocket. So the pocket measures 5¼ by 3½, and then on the 5¼ side you're going to score it 1/2 inch on both sides, and on the 3½ inch side you're just going to score it 1/2 inch. And then we can go ahead and cut our corners out, just right where those intersect, right where our score marks intersect, and burnish your score lines. Fold and burnish. All right, and then that is just going to go right at the bottom of our belly band here. So I'm just going to burnish it one more time. Okay, so I'm going to add my glue to the bottom first. And so all the way to the bottom of my flap and all the way to both sides. And then we can open it up and burnish it, and then add our glue to these smaller flaps. And just burnish those. All right, so we've got all of our page construction complete. So now we can go ahead and add it into our base. I wanted to quickly mention, so we did this as page 1 and then page 2, and then our little pop-up page is page 3 and page 4, and then page 5 and page 6. But you can add these in here in any order that you like, anything that's pleasing to your eye. I'm going to keep it the way that I made them, but you can completely just, do it however you'd like. So now we're going to go ahead on our base pages and fold that the first score line, our 1/2 inch score mark, and that is what is going to, we're going to add glue to that, and that's what's going to attach our page in, right? And then that little 1/2 inch is going to be our little expandable waterfall pages, so that our pages lay nice and flat on top of each other. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add my glue to my little 1/2 inch section, so not anywhere else, just this little 1/2 inch section. And again, be generous, because this is what's connecting it into the book. And I'm going to attach it right along my score line here and center top and bottom. All right, and then once you have it down, you can go ahead and burnish. So you can pick any one of these flaps to start attaching to, because it is square. Okay, so there's no difference at this point. There's no difference. So you can pick any one of them to start attaching your pages to. All right, so that's the first one in. And you're going to want to make sure that you leave about 1/8 of an inch at the top and about 1/8 of an inch at the bottom. Okay, so you see that little bit of space right here and right here. Okay, so now we can go ahead and attach the second page. I'm just going to kind of press this flat. So the second one is our pop-up, and again, you're going to fold and burnish down. All right, and then we can just add glue to this one. Remember, just that little 1/2 inch section. And be generous, make sure you get it all over. All right, and then that one is just going to go right along the previous one here. So much easier to line up this time because you know where it's going. All right, and then you can kind of just burnish in there with your bone folder. All right, and we'll do the next one. So again, you have to fold over that score line that we did not burnish earlier. So that's just the 1/2 inch little score line. All right, and add glue to your 1/2 inch flap or hinge. All right, and that is just going to go right along on this side. And then we can just burnish in there. All right, so that is all of our little pages attached into our explosion album. So they will just open up like this. So cool. All right, guys, so for the decorating process, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and show you guys how to mat, you know, the more difficult things like these angled pockets, like the top for the envelope there. These pockets here, these little diagonal pockets, and then the rest I will just go through and decorate, and then you will see it. You will have seen it in the walkthrough at the beginning of this video. But I will have all the pattern paper sizes and the mats and layers and all of that in the cutting guide, okay? So if you guys want to grab that, it will be linked below to my Etsy shop. But you know how I do things. I usually just go down a 1/4 inch, and that's what my mat sizes are, okay? So for these two pockets up here, I'm going to start here. And this is where the beauty of digital paper comes in. So I printed 2 of these sheets because you will need 2 to be able to mat these angled pockets. So I have a little diagram for you guys. So you're going to need 2 pieces of pattern paper or cardstock, whatever you choose to mat these with, that measure 5 3/4 by 6 3/4, okay? One of them you are going to want to cut with a craft knife or a cutting a paper cutter. You're going to want to cut from the right side down diagonally through to the left side. Okay, so you're going to cut one of them like this, and that will make the piece for this side. Okay, because I'm going to show you guys right now the piece that I cut off of here will not work here in any way unless you flip it upside down. And this isn't double-sided paper because we're using digital paper. So you are going to need to do it this way, okay? So for this one, 5 3/4 by 6 3/4, and you're going to cut it diagonally from the right side down through to the left side, okay? And then for this one here, you're going to want the same size pattern paper or solid cardstock, whatever you want. So 5 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then you're going to cut from the left side diagonally down to the right side. And that is what's going to give you this piece, okay? So that is how you mat those. So if you need to take a screenshot or something of this, you go right ahead. Or I guess it's like this. All right, so that is these pieces. All right, and then for page 2, where we have this little envelope top, what I did is I took one of our pieces of pattern paper and I cut it at 6 first on this side. So this is all of it together. I cut it at 6 first on this side, and then I cut it at 2 3/4 across the top here. So it leaves us this bottom section to put here. And then I cut another little white mat that's 2 1/4 by 6, and that is going to go here. And then this piece is going to go here. But let's see how to mat this. So this is 2 3/4 by 6. So what you're going to do is just lay it into the top here, laid into the top of your envelope top, and then you're going to make sure that these 3 sides have an even black border. Then you're just going to make a mark about 1/8 of an inch up from this edge here, and about 1/8 of an inch up from this edge here, and then just a mark right at the point of your envelope, okay? Then you can use a scissor or a craft knife, whatever you choose to use. I'm just going to use a scissor here and just cut diagonally across to that tick mark. And then we'll do the same thing here, diagonally across to the mark for your tip. And then I'm going to erase any markings. All right, and then that's gonna layer right in here. And then we're gonna have this little one here. And that is gonna look super, super cute, okay? And then to mat the other side of it, the other side of this envelope piece, you would just repeat the same process that we did for the front. All right, and then for page 4, here where we have our 2 stacked pockets, I'm gonna use this sheet here, but I want to do what you call continuous matting for the pockets. So this piece measures 6 3/4 by 7 1/4. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to cut a piece from the bottom here that measures 3 1/4. So I'm going to cut a piece off of here that measures 3 1/4. All right, so I've cut my piece off at 3 1/4 right here. So what I'm going to do is just lay this on here, and I'm going to grab a pencil, and I'm going to make sure that I have an even black border on this side, the bottom, and this part of the top here. And then over here, I'm going to make a mark about 1/8 of an inch up from the edge of my pocket here. And then I'm going to make a mark about 1/8 of an inch in from my pocket there. And then I'm going to cut across right there. All right, so now I have cut across from that tick mark to that tick mark, and it just saved that cute little ghost's head. All right, so that part is done. So now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to place it inside the pockets till it's just inside here, okay? And then I'm going to make a little mark right here, about 1/8 of an inch in from my edge there. All right, and then I'm going to take this out, and right here where like the point of our other pocket is, that's pretty much where it intersects with the larger pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in here now. I'm going to make sure I'm all lined up like I previously was. And I'm going to make a mark on the pattern paper just beyond this, the point of our previous pocket, okay? So probably right there. And then what I'm going to do is line these up and cut across right there. All right, so now I've done that. I've just lined these two up and cut across. So I'm now going to erase my markings. All right, and then those are my layer pieces for this page. All right, and then for these two little diagonal pockets here, I have a piece of orange cardstock that measures 3 by 3, and all I'm gonna do is cut it diagonally through the middle. All right, so I've got my long scissors here, and I'm just gonna line it up and cut right through the center, just like this. So then this piece can go here, and this piece can go here. So because I'm just using plain cardstock, this works for these pockets. Now, if these were pattern paper, it would be upside down on this side, okay? So if you want to do pattern paper, you're going to have to repeat the process of that we did at the beginning, that we did at the front here when I showed you how to cut these diagonal for the diagonal pockets at the front. If you want to use pattern paper, you're gonna have to do the same type of thing, except your template would just be 3 by 3. Okay, so these are gonna go glue on right here. So like I said, I'm just going to finish up decorating this. All right, guys, so I've been a busy bee. I finished decorating the album and the top of it, the top of the box. So I just quickly wanted to show you the little closure for the pop-up page that I said we were going to do. So I have a paper clip here. So this is just like a basic paper clip, nothing fancy about it. So my plan is to basically just stick it right here to close up to keep this page closed. So what I want to do is I have these two cut aparts left. I think the cute little ghost is a little bit too big. So I think I'm going to use the bat. And basically what I want to do, I've die cut a small circle. What I want to do is put this on here like this. So it doesn't have to go very far on it. And then just glue the bat on the top. So I've got my hot glue gun here. And what I'm going to do is just place it where I want it on the paper clip. And I'm going to add some hot glue right on top of the paper clip. And then grab the bat and just place the bat where I want it on here. And then we've just got like a cute little decorated paper clip. So super, super easy, and it looks finished on the back because we use that circle. All right, and if you have some glue sticking out, you can just kind of push it back in, or don't use as much glue as I did. All right, so now we have our cute little bat paper clip. And so I'm just gonna put this on here to keep this page closed. So I'll give you a quick walkthrough. Like I said earlier, you will have seen this at the beginning of the video, the full walkthrough. But this is where we're at right now. It's hard to show with all the flips and the flaps. But I have finished the decorating of it. So like I said, all of the pattern paper sizes and the mat sizes will be in the cutting guide in my Etsy shop. All right, and then this is our cute little pop-up page. I absolutely love this page. And then, you know, these open like this. So, so cute. All right, and then we'll put the paper clip back on here. All right, and then the cute little, the double pockets. And then these pockets here. Our little diagonal pockets. And then back here is the little belly band. And I had these two cut aparts left over, so I've just kind of stuck them in behind the belly band so I can use them however I want later on. All right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. I really enjoyed creating this for you. So like I said, the cutting guide will be linked below. Guys, I hope you enjoyed, and if you haven't yet, I would love if you liked this video and subscribed for future videos just like this. All right, bye-bye.